It's the 29th, Friday. I don't know what that. Can tell if this like thing right here is on my screen or in the camera. I don't guess it matters too much though. But yeah, so it's Friday, about 8:30 almost. I think it was Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, but I think Wednesday when I had the last video. The neighbors a few spots down are having some kind of soiree and playing their shit loud, so I don't know if that'll show up on the recording or no, but having a little Jim Beam for Dad here. And a cigarette for myself. Number 3 for the day. So I gotta enjoy it. It's the last one. I've been sticking to my 3 cigarettes. I haven't budged on it, even though I wanted to smoke more some days. But I haven't. A few important developments. We have confirmed with the funeral home, crematorium, cremation services in Las Vegas that, well, they got the permit back from the state several days ago, and they've been good to work with. It's just things are slow in that industry these days. Or maybe not slow, maybe they're faster than normal, but they're just more backed up than normal. So, but anyway, so we should definitely be able to receive Nathaniel's ashes next Friday. So, if all goes as planned, exactly 1 week from right now, at whatever, what it would be, 5:20, 5:25, 5:30 out there, we should have stopped by the coroner's office to get his personal effects that were on him, and by where he was staying to get the rest of his things, and gone to the funeral home to receive his ashes. And I reserved a minivan for the trip out there. My mom called around actually and asked if certain places had a bereavement policy for rentals, like a emergency bereavement thing or death in the family type thing. And she actually found just right up the street in Plainfield here, Enterprise Rental. They gave us a really good price and then 10% off that. So ended up being able to get a minivan for, I don't think any more than we would have paid for like a mid-sized car, even on Priceline, with unlimited miles, which is handy when you're driving almost 4,000 miles. And it'll be more comfortable for the family. And then as we're bringing his stuff back, we'll have more cargo space, so that'll be fantastic. So we are planning to leave Wednesday morning. They open at 8. I'll just walk over there, and because it's like, I don't know, a mile from here or something. Give me a chance to clear my head, get up, walk over there. Probably. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Angie needs to go too, since we're both driving. Anyway, we'll be there at 8. And have everything already packed. Bring the van back. Put all the shit in the van, cooler, and fucking hightail it out of here. And we've got kind of a rough sketch plan for where we'll stay night 1, night 2, and such. And then, so day one will be Wednesday, day two Thursday, and then we should get there in the morning, Friday, next Friday the 5th. So, uh, I would have not anticipated in those first days after we heard the news of Nathaniel's death and had first talked to the coroner and then my first contact with that particular funeral home, that we thought that already by now, this isn't a complaint, this is just our presumption of how things would move. But things are strange during the days of COVID-19 and state employees working from home and things being slower and apparently a lot more people to cremate and all this kind of stuff, that we would have already been out there and back by now. But it's, I think in some ways, it's probably, I think our preference, if we had been asked, if we could have called all the shots, would have been early enough that it's a raucous party down there. That we would have, would have been able to take care of it all quicker. But having gone through the process that we've been thus far, I think that in some ways it will be a net positive because we've gotten through that initial. Well, I can't say we. I'll spell it. Hate to speak for anybody else. I feel like as a family, we've gotten through the initial, just worst parts of it. Or just every day fucking hurts from start to finish. And one thing that I've noticed over the last few days is, checking my messages here, is that I would say in the last like 4 days, I haven't had any of the just like crushing like breakdown kind of times that were relatively frequent, previous to that. And it's 29th now. It was functionally midnight or minutes before midnight on the 5th. Actually, it was right at midnight, between the 5th and the 6th. That we found out the worst fucking news of our entire lives. And I still it's just 20. It's like 20 plus days, 24 days. It's like the time. I just almost can't. I mean, I've lived through every day of it, and I almost can't believe it's been this many days at this point. But I was thinking on a walk yesterday down to Oasis and back for coffee, that was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Or no, I'm sorry, 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago when I met Clay down at Oasis for breakfast. Yeah, because yesterday I met Clay for breakfast. uh, and walk down there and walk back. And then yesterday he came over for dinner and janky picnic table. And then my mom came over and we had a whole family thing, dinner, and we watched a movie. We watched Lucky, Harry Dean Stanton's last movie. Fantastic movie. If you like, if you like, I find myself talking to this laptop like I'm talking to a person sitting across from me. Like I'm not just sitting here fucking talking to myself like a weirdo in my backyard. But whatever. On number 3, gotta smoke it down to the band, boy. Cause it's gonna be probably 12 or 16 hours till I smoke the next one. But yeah, so watched Lucky last night. Great movie, one of my favorites, really. You know, very existential, very mortality oriented. Great writing, great banter. You know, as a coffee shop rambler that I am, I mean, a lot of it takes place, in the coffee shop and then over cocktails and this, this bar scenes that they have, and it's just great. It was Harry Dean Stanton's swan song. But yeah, so we did that last night, and then Angie and I woke up, and the last 3-4 days we've had great morning sex. That's been awesome. And because we freaky like that after all these years, 22 years. And then we went down to Oasis. I mean, I usually split my time between Waffle House and Oasis, but Waffle House is still closed, so Oasis gets all the shekels. Great joint. And I've got a decent amount of poetry to catch up on. I think the main reason is the last 3 days, pretty much all of my coffee shop rambling has not been solo. It's been with family members, which has been great. Clay 2 days ago, Caleb yesterday morning, and then Angie this morning, going to have breakfast, my Quaker special breakfast. And that's been good. But so when I was coming back from breakfast with Clay, it was like for weeks. I mean, every walk I went on, I've got my shades, my cheap shades. These motherfuckers have lasted me like, I don't know, almost 2 years. 69 cents. Great price, by the way. 69 cents I paid for these. Brand new. These bootleg ass Wayfarers at Goodwill. And they're like the T1000 or whatever. They just keep going. But having my shades on and all that, and just couldn't go on a mile walk without all the old familiar places reminding me of Nathanael, the things that we've done together, music, all this kind of stuff, and just fucking breaking down while I'm walking. Which, got, in a strange way, comfortable over the time. Not that I'm particularly apprehensive about being transparent about my emotional state, generally speaking, but, it's, I don't just stumble around town crying. But it's been a strange and precarious time. But anyway, on the way back from that walk, I was like thinking to myself, I was like, self, it's been a couple days since you've really cried hard, about this, and I think it's very easy to fall into, I don't even call it a trap, just, I think it's very easy when you're feeling really emotional, maybe particularly more so as a guy, being more on the transparent side with your emotions. Generally, I don't know. But on the one hand, when you're, oh, it's the vibing on the lighting situation here. When you're maybe feeling really emotional, you might tend to, what this lighting dude's doing here? We'll try it like that. To like try to pull back, like I shouldn't be crying this hard, or I shouldn't be feeling it this deeply, or let me distract myself, or suck it up or throttle it in. That can be a trap and not healthy. But on the other hand, one could say to themselves, well, I'm in my situation the last few days, like I'm not crying as much as I was, and I'm not emoting or feeling as much visceral pain emotionally like I have been. Is that bad? It's like either side of this continuum, you could be critical of yourself. But I think that the most effective thing, the most healthy, I think that's a better word, the most healthy thing is to feel what you're feeling. And just like in the last few days, I've not been as broken, as it were, as the previous, say, 20. On the other hand, fast forward 20, I can predict going through, losing my father, losing my grandmother, all this stuff, but particularly my dad in my early 30s, I can predict that there's going to be some type of, Warren Zevon, keep me closer than the buttons on your blouse type thing, that that out of nowhere fucking hits me and I just crumble on an otherwise resilient day, you know? I mean, that's kind of shit that happens and will happen in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, whatever. Because that still happens to me occasionally, thinking about my dad. And it sure as hell will thinking about my son. Uh, but under the horrible fucking circumstances that I would give anything to fucking change. If it would bring Nathanael back. But it won't. It won't. Under these circumstances, I am looking forward to this trip with my wife and our children, because to go out to where Nathanael was, where he wanted to be. I mean, he went out there with intentionality. He didn't accidentally end up, where he was. Like, he did what he did with purpose. He thought about what he wanted to do. He thought about his, not just his next move, but his next move, but his next move, and where he decided weeks before he ended up dying that he wanted to be was in Nevada, and out there and having an adventure before he ended up working back at the Grand Canyon again, like he did last season or two, well, last summer season. Um, and So we are following in his footsteps. and we're driving out there, and we're going to be with one another, and we're going to be supporting one another, and we're going to be experiencing that together. And like with our oldest, well, Nathaniel's twin, Caleb, who's 20, and he's already been on multiple adventures and back now and going back out again. And then Lydia, who's going to be going soon back to, as far as I know, the Grand Canyon, maybe even Caleb to that area. I just know that they'll all fall in love with that area. I mean, when I worked out there, I think I was 15 or 16 when we went out there as a family. And then I went back when I was 18 after I graduated and did a or 1 semester of college. And had an adventure out there myself. I just know they're gonna fucking love that area of the country of Arizona. It's just fucking magical out there. And then after we have Nathaniel's remains, the less fast-paced trip or leg of the trip coming back, that's going to be, I think, something that will forever be fucking embedded in all of our lives individually and together. And I think that the butterfly effect of that road trip adventure to bring Nathaniel's remains back home will spread into many things in our lives, and maybe even others. I don't know. But we're not doing it for all that. We're doing it for Nathaniel and one another. So anyway, as these have tended to go, I'm over 20 minutes when I thought I'd probably be done 10, but it doesn't cost extra to use a few more megabytes and gigabytes on this computer, so whatever. But yeah, so it's just been, great to have the support of our family and our friends, and that's meant so much. And just one another, like the very core of us, in this household. And it's been an extreme minority of any kind of thing that could be accused of negativity that we've had to deal with going through this process. So I think I'm going to do a little yard work and we'll have a good family night. But it looks like it's going to be an 8-day trip. I went ahead and reserved the van for 8 days because, we could do it in 7. Technically we could do it in 6, but it would just be so compressed. Could do it in 7, less compressed, but not really what you call room to breathe at a few certain kind of important junctures in the trip. But being able to come back on the 8th day, I think, isn't too long. But, and we've all talked about this, but it's not just me making the decision. But I think gives us the time where we need to decompress to do so, as I'm sure, like, once we're out there in Nevada and like we get his ashes and everything, like, who knows, I don't know. But we're a resilient family, so I'm very glad about that. But oh fuck, I just wish we could be doing something like this with Nathaniel. It just makes me glad for all the things that we did through. So, and it makes me glad for everything that he did. Yeah.